All right, everyone. Today I wanted to share with you guys 3 important steps on how you should go about buying your materials in Lost Ark and why you want to stay away from the market. Stop buying your materials on the market. It is unbelievably, incredibly overpriced, and there are tons of things that you want to do first when it comes to acquiring materials before you ever end up going to the market. And in these 3 steps here, I want to kind of guide you through the process on how you should go about getting materials on your account. So let's start off with step number 1 here, and that is, are there any source of bound materials that you can still end up getting to use for your own personal account progress? And there's tons of ways to get bound materials, but bound materials are always going to take a priority because it limits the option to end up selling them, and because of that, you basically have to end up using them. So if you need materials, you always want to prioritize using bound materials over unbound materials. And just a few examples here of where you can end up getting bound materials are islands. You can only do those once per roster, of course. So make sure that you end up doing all of your islands. Other story quests, including the one that I ended up talking about in the video from the other day. Tons of tier 3 materials that are bound when you end up getting them. Tower, of course, you can end up doing Tower on all of your alts, and make sure that you do that first run on Tower on a character that doesn't need the materials, because the first run that you do on your roster is actually going to give you other stuff besides honing upgrade materials, but that's a huge source of tier 1 and tier 2 materials. Infinite Chaos for tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 3 Infinite Chaos works a little bit differently, but tier 1 and tier 2 Infinite Chaos, you can end up getting those materials for each character, and they are going to be bound on the character that you end up buying them on, so a very good source of bound materials. And of course, the new event shop, which I've talked about in several videos over the last few days, an excellent source of materials from there as well. And there's tons of other areas as well. Bound materials are always going to take priority. So out of these 3 steps here, the first one that you want to ask yourself when it comes to using your materials to upgrade your account is, can I end up finding a place to get more bound materials, and can I end up using any bound materials first before I ever even start thinking about using tradable materials? So that's step 1 right there. Now, step number 2, very importantly, and I'm going to tell you guys the exact process that you want to use in order to actually do this correctly, is the Mari shop. And the Mari shop has a massive misunderstanding in the game. A lot of people who are less informed think the Mari shop is pay to win. You have to spend money, and anybody who uses the Mari shop is obviously a whale or is spending money, and that is absolutely not the case. The Mari shop is actually incredibly free-to-play friendly because everything in the Mari shop is able to be purchased with blue crystals, and there's a very important distinction between blue and orange crystals. Orange crystals are the ones that you can only end up getting with money, whereas blue crystals, you can end up going to the exchange and you can end up buying them with gold. So basically, think of everything in the Mari shop, if it makes it easier for you, instead of looking at it as costing crystals, blue crystals, just think of it as costing gold, because you can always just end up spending gold on the exchange and get those blue crystals. Now, there's a couple of important things about the Mari shop, and this is going to be your second go-to location to end up getting upgrade materials after all the other sources of bound materials. If you've kind of gone through all those things that I've mentioned and you feel like you've exhausted all other sources of bound materials, you really want to consider looking at the Mari shop before you even think about opening up the market. But you have to do this correctly here, because some things on the Mari shop are not worth it, but some things are an absolutely insane deal here. And what you can do with the Mari shop is you can actually end up going back 3 full days. There's going to be a total of 12 pages on the Mari shop. Each page lasts for 6 hours. So with 4 pages per day and 12 pages, you have 3 days before the very first page on the Mari shop is going to roll over here. And you've got a lot of selection for tons of different stuff that could be useful, not just to your main character, but possibly to alt characters as well. But the way that you want to go about this is you want to very carefully calculate what each of these items is actually going to cost you in gold, because you want to compare it to what it would end up costing you off of the market instead. And you want to get a comparison of what does this item cost off of the Mari shop versus what does this item cost to buy off of the market instead. And let's actually just do one of these items as an example here, and then you can use this information and you can use it and apply it to all the other items that you might be looking for in the Mari shop. It's just incredibly important to understand how to do this, because you'll constantly be using this process throughout your entire history playing Lost Ark to find out the value on several other items in the future. So what we want to do here is look up, like, what would it cost for me to end up buying these solar protections off of the Mari shop versus what would it end up costing me if I were to end up buying these solar protections off the market? Well, we can look at the market price right here, and we can see that they're about 679 gold each off of the market. The question is, if I buy these off the Mari shop, is it going to be cheaper? And if I need these, obviously I want to buy them from the cheaper source. So what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of walk through how you want to do this, because what you want to do is really look at everything on the Mari shop in terms of gold instead of in terms of blue crystals. So if we take a look at those 3 solar protections, they cost 150 blue crystals. So we want to break down, what does 1 solar protection cost in blue crystals? Very simple. It's just 150 divided by 3. So we know that 1 solar protection from the Mari shop costs 50 blue crystals. Now that we have that, what we want to do is we want to convert 50 blue crystals in value to what 50 blue crystals is going to be worth in gold. And in order to do that, we just end up going to the exchange here. Just so you guys can see, we end up going to the store, we end up going to the exchange, and when you buy crystals, whatever they are, obviously these numbers are going to be different on your server and when you guys are watching this video, but you buy 95 blue crystals at the time here. And so right now, 95 blue crystals for 900 gold. You could actually end up getting them for a little bit less, and I talk about this in another video, but let's just use 900 to make it simple for this example here. And then basically, we can end up going back here, and you can see that if 95 blue crystals is 900 gold, we just take 50, which is the value of 1 solar protection, divided by 95, and then multiply it by 900 gold. And we actually get a price of 473 gold per solar protection. That's basically how much gold it costs us in order to end up buying 1 solar protection off of the Mari shop. And it's very important that I emphasize this, because you want to do this process for every single item on the Mari shop that you might be thinking of buying in the future. You want to get that gold value, because when you have the value of that solar protection in gold, it makes it very easy to compare to what those items are going to end up being in the market to see if it's going to end up being a better deal to buy from the Mari shop. And now that we know that it costs 473 gold in order to end up buying it from the Mari shop, we saw the market price 676, 680 gold off of the market versus 473 gold in blue crystals, but it's still gold. You don't have to spend any money at all. You can always just end up converting gold to blue crystals, so no real money transactions involved. I want to emphasize that again, because there's just a massive misunderstanding among tons of people who think that blue crystals in the Mari shop is pay to win. It is not. You can buy all this stuff with gold, and you can get a comparison: 473 gold from the Mari shop, 676 gold from the market. Clearly, the Mari shop is a pretty darn good discount there. So at this point, if we've gone through all sources of bound materials and we still want to end up getting solar protections, before we even end up thinking about buying these off of the market for 676 gold or 680 gold, whatever they actually were, we want to end up buying all of the ones that are in the Mari shop instead. And remember, if you actually go to the Mari shop, it's not just this last page. You have 12 pages. You can go back 3 full days and see if there's any more of them that you can end up purchasing. So you're going to get a very nice discount there. And again, you want to do this to all items that you are looking at. And just as an example, this isn't going to be better for absolutely everything. Earlier on, Tier 1 and Tier 2 materials were still a decent deal in the Mari shop, but now as the game has been out for about a month or so, a lot of things like these Guardian Stone fragments, 400 of these Tier 1 Guardian Stones for 72 blue crystals is a massive scam. You definitely wouldn't want to end up buying this at this point anymore, but a lot of items, especially like Tier 3 resources and those shard bags, because Harmony shards, life shards are all still very expensive, are absolutely still going to be worth buying in the Mari shop before you ever consider buying anything off of the market. And so that's step 1 and step 2. Any sources of bound materials for step 1? If you've gone through all the bound materials, Mari shop. Can you get any more off the Mari shop, and are they a better deal? Obviously, if they're not a better deal, then don't buy them from the Mari shop, but a lot of items are going to be a better deal. And that leads to step 3, which is the final step. At that point, if you still need more resources and you've exhausted everything else up to this point, then you can end up buying stuff off of the market, but you are going to be paying a very hefty price. So I wanted to just go through this here at a more definitive video, because I see a lot of misunderstandings about this, and I wanted to just kind of piece it all together like a big giant puzzle all in one video and kind of make it a bit more clear, hopefully. So I hope this video helped out. I really do. If you guys enjoyed, and this video did help out, consider leaving a quick like. It helps out so much. Thank you to all of you guys to do that. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and feel free to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Salt, where I'll be streaming Lost Ark as well as other games. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, and until next time.